And we'll go to the scriptural reference in just a moment. But faith, to give a reference of just what our faith is, if you are more faithful, you can achieve your spiritual goals that can be manifested. If you are more faithful in everything that you believe, then you can receive. If you're more faithful, in other words, what we have seen in a definition of faith, if I may just bring it a little bit closer to the scriptural context. Now, when I look at faith, I realize that in the Greek, they were trying to give us a word to closely identify with what it's speaking of. And as I analyze faith, hold on to your faith. I will not try to tear down what you understand as faith. But what I want to do is bring it to a greater understanding by stripping away the other languages. Now, faith, and I'm trying, somebody help me if I have it wrong, but I believe the Greek word immunah, the Hebrew, immunah. So immunah, going back to what the Greek had transcribed, was faith. But in the Hebrew, immunah. Immunah really means belief. So in the Greek, what the Greek were trying to transcribe and transliterate immunah, the original word, to belief. So my question today, and it's only a thought, what do you believe? Have you been able to formulate an opinion on what you believe? We have so much information coming at us. We study, we hear, but what do you believe? So what I've just done is stripped away faith to show us what's beneath it, which is belief. Because too often what has happened in our traditional upbringing is, if you're sick, Joe, you don't have enough faith. Or if you don't pay your tithe, you don't have enough faith because you don't believe He will supply all of your needs. If you don't show up nightly at the nightly services, the prayer services, and so on, it's because you're short on what? Faith. So I found the necessity to strip away what we've been battered with. It's so much that has been ingrained in us that if you pray for healing and you have not received it, you beat yourself up and say it must be because I lack faith. But it's not that you lack faith, because sometimes sickness is not for a reason of your lack of faith or belief, but it may be for someone else or something else or whatever it finally culminates to be. Okay, this is what I'm saying. You believe something, but what do you believe?
Yeah.
So now we're not messing with faith. I'm not going to bother what your faith is, because people will ask you, what do you have faith in? What's your belief? What is your religion? And so know, because of the confusion of your religion, you have been beat upside the head so many times by the stick of faith.
Right.
You really don't understand what faith is.
Right.
So let's strip it down to its nakedness, to the essence of what faith is. Immunized in the Hebrew. So now that we have a little bit of a platform, I will say now that I know that I need more than one application to get this all out. Because as I tried to get to the bottom of it, it just kept getting longer and longer and longer. And my attempt today is to really be brief. So let's go to Acts and begin to answer, believe. What do you believe? Let's go to the 16th chapter of the book of Acts. 16th chapter. Now, go to the 30th verse. And having led them outside, he said, Master, what do I have to do to be saved? And they said, believe on the Master Yeshua Messiah, and you shall be saved. Come on now. You and your household.
Hallelujah.
And they spoke the word of Yahweh to him and to all who were in his house. Now, let me give you the background, what has been going on. This is Shaul and Silas. They were imprisoned, and this is really kind of where I'm just going to kind of throw something at you so I can get to where I'm trying to go. All right? You already know the story. You've heard this all the time. You heard this many times, how Paul and Silas was in the jail, and the earthquake happened, and the shackles, opened up, and they were there when the jailers came and thought they were gone. Right? Y'all heard that. All right, so just know that's where we're at now, and this is our springboard. So, what must we do? They said, now remember, the jailers are asking this question, right? That's right. Shaul, which is Paul, and Silas, they were jailed, and there was others in there. And of course, as they were singing, you know what? Let me just go back a little bit. Verse 23. And having laid many blows upon them, they threw them into prison, and I'm still in Acts 16. Threw them into prison, commanding the jailers to keep them safely, who having received such a command, put them into the inner prison and fastened their feet in their sockets. And at midnight, Shaul and Silas were praying and singing songs to Elohim, and the prisoners were listening to them. Who were they listening to? Shaul and Silas. And the others who were also singing along. And that, I'm just kind of making a connection that while they were in there singing, that, when people sing, people just tend to join in. So I really don't know if they sung or not, but I do know that these two were singing, because it says they. So therefore, we have a pronoun giving us more than one person. They. So at least I can say at least two people were singing. So I'll stop with that. That's safe to say. So as they, at least Shaul and Silas, were singing, verse 26, and suddenly a great earthquake took place, so that the foundations of the prison were shaken, and immediately all the doors were opened, and all the chains came
Yeah.
And the jailers awaking from their sleep and seeing the prisoner's door open, thinking that the prisoners had fled, drew their swords and were about to kill themselves or himself. And Shaul called with a loud voice, saying, "Do not harm yourself, for we are all here." And asking for a light, he ran in. Light. He ran in and fell down, trembling before Shaul and Silas. And having led them outside, he said, now this is a jailer, "Masters." So we know this is not Yeshua that he's talking to, but he's talking to at least Shaul and Silas. Why? Because he was listening to them while they prayed to Yahweh and they sung. Where were they? They were in jail. They had shackles.
That's right. Hallelujah.
And the jailer asked for a light. And let's see what happens. And asking for a light, he ran inside and fell down, trembling before Shaul and Silas. And having led them outside, he said, "Masters, what do I have to do to be saved?" Here's the answer. They said, "Believe on the Master Yeshua Messiah, and you shall be saved." So my question was, what do you believe? All right? So hold on to that, because we're going to work with that. And not only was, let me read it. "And you shall be saved, you and your household." And they spoke the word of Yahweh. This is very important. I cannot fly past this, because in this lies everything. Let's analyze. They spoke the word of Yahweh. But in just the word, they said believe in Messiah, right? Yeshua, right? But then they spoke what? So what is the word of Yahweh? That's just that's a summation. That is not detail. They spoke a word. So we got to find out what is the word, because this is what we have to believe. What should we believe? The word.
That's right.
Okay, so in this, and it's not a plural. It just says the word. And the word came down, right? And dwelt among us.
Hallelujah.
Woo-hoo! And they spoke the word of Yahweh to him and to all who were in his house. And taking them in that hour of the night, he washed their wounds, and immediately he was immersed, he and all that was his. All right, so let's go to James. James chapter 1. And we're going to look at a few verses there. All right. Chapter 1. Now, I need for you to keep something on top. What I want you to keep on top is, what do you believe? That's my question. All right? Let's go to James chapter 1. James is also in Hebrew is Yaakov. Okay? Yaakov, a servant of Elohim and of the Master, Yeshua Messiah, to the 12 tribes who are in the dispersion, greetings. Now, let me help you understand where I'm going next, my next step with this. James, who is he speaking to? The 12 tribes. Because that's what it says. I want to keep it very simple. We don't have to figure it out. It's right there. Let me read it again. Yaakov, James, a servant of Elohim and of the Master Yeshua Messiah. To the 12, he's only writing to a specific group of people. He's not writing to all the other religious beliefs. He's writing to a specific group of people.
Right.
To the 12 tribes who are in the dispersion. Greetings. So he's setting up some instructions. He is giving us a salutation. He's saying greetings to who? The 12 tribes, right? I'm taking this slow for a very particular reason. Because I want you to understand that who he's talking to are a group of people that are not in Israel.
Right.
They're dispersed in the nations.
Right.
And this is who he's talking to. He's writing to us. And then by the time I finish with this, first, let me just say this. If you don't know who you are Israel. The evidence is you are in the nations. You are not in the land. You are in the nations. And there's a very particular way that we ended up in the nations that we are. Now we know that slavery happened. We talked about that. But we also know that other countries have people who are of the tribes for this very reason. Because of you, Abraham, all nations will be blessed. Every tongue and every kindred. So we know that Israel have been dispersed through all nations. Now, let's go to what we believe. My brothers, count it all joy when you fall in various trials, knowing that the proving of your what? Belief works endurance. And let endurance have a perfect work, so that you be what? Perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. Perfect and complete. So, how can you be perfect and complete? This is why he's addressing us. He's speaking to us. He said, let me speak to you so that you can be perfect and complete. In other words, that you lack nothing at all. Verse 5. If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of Elohim, who gives to all generously and without reproach, and it shall be given to you. But he should ask in belief, not doubting. Now, this is where we can see faith really is kind of skewed in this. Let me read it again with the understanding of faith. Now remember, I said I'm not stripping away faith, but what I'm doing is strengthening what you believe. But he should ask in belief, but not doubting, for he who doubts is like a wave of the sea driven and tossed by the wind. That's right. So faith really won't fit for this definition here. Let's try. ask in faith, but don't have enough faith. It doesn't fit. And I did that on purpose. Because belief fits so much better here. You're not doubting. So if you don't doubt, you what? You believe.
You believe, right.
So when you ask in faith, you believe. So, what do you really believe? When you pray for healing, what do you really believe? When you pray for financial stability, what do you really believe? And if we don't achieve the level that we need to, or we think we need to be at, remember when they spoke to Job, it's because you don't have enough faith, Job. But now, in the context of belief, Job believed. He believed what he believed. So, let's go on with this so we can really get a good picture of this. Verse 12. Blessed is the man who does endure trial, for when he has been proven, he shall receive the crown of life. So, what do you believe? Because what you believe is what will lead you to the crown of life. And that's the ultimate goal. There's something I need to get to, so I need to just kind of give you some points here and move, because I got to show you something. All right. The crown of life, which the Master has promised to those who love him. Let no one say when he is enticed, I am enticed by Elohim. For Elohim is not enticed by evil matters, and he entices no one. But each one is enticed when he is drawn away by his own desires and trapped. So is it that what you really believe is not strong enough to get you into the place you want to be? So then that's when we check ourselves by the measuring stick.
There you go. Yeah. There you go.
Because if you only check yourself by what you believe, then you'll never get out of the trap.
Yeah.
It's like a maze. You're running around trying to find the end or the goal, but because you believe something that you don't really understand, you're trapped. And you're not checking the measuring stick. The measuring stick is something outside of you that was established long before you.
That's right.
So when we find ourselves in a place of Job, in a place of, am I really believing what I believe, or do I have enough faith? It's not that you don't have enough faith, not enough belief. Maybe what you understand need to be tweaked a little bit. Maybe with what you understand, you need to go to a measuring stick that is outside of one's self, that was established long ago.
Exactly. Hallelujah.
So, then, when desire has conceived, it gives birth to what? Sin. And sin, when it has been accomplished, brings forth death. Now, I'm going to tell you the reason why I went to James first, because I think he explains something to us so very profound. I'm going to go into the book of Hebrews, to the book of faith.
Yeah.
The book of belief, which is chapter 11. But I'm going to go somewhere before I get there, chapter 10, and try to touch 11 and 12. And I told you I know I won't finish this, but to give you enough today to just kind of help you along with where I'm going with this. Now, Leviticus chapter 23 says, You know what? Can somebody pull that for me? Because I try to be careful about quoting everything all the time because I'm dealing with your belief. It's like a doctor on an operation. You have to be very careful with a person's mind. So I don't want it to come from me. But can someone give me Leviticus chapter 23 verse 1? Start there and just start reading.
Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel and say to them, the appointed times of Yahweh, which you are to proclaim as set apart gatherings. My appointed times are these.
So these are appointed times, and it says, my appointed times. So now he's establishing something, and who is he talking to? Israel, right? And who are we? So if he's talking to Israel, he's talking to us. And James wrote a letter addressing us in the diaspora. Okay. We are in the diaspora. We're not in the land. Can we just agree we're not in Israel right now? We're not in Israel, right? We're in a country called United States of America, right? So, being in another country, we can safely surmise that we are not in the promised land. And when we established ourselves, we spoke about the promise, right? I don't think we have to go back there, but what did the jailer ask? How can we be saved? Now, let's ask the same question. How can I be saved? I'm not in the land. I know that the land is going to be protected. But what did he tell the jailer? Believe in the Master Yeshua, the Messiah. And my question was, what do you believe? So if you believe in the Master Yeshua, and many of us come to know him as Jesus. Right. And so now that we are learning who we are, Yahweh God, he says, I am the God of the Hebrews. Yep. Right? So, yes, I want to identify with the Hebrews.
Thank you.
But of late, I've been finding out that I don't have to just identify with the God of Hebrews because I am Hebrew. Right. And he is my Elohim. Right? So, this instruction is for me then. So, now let's look at, let's go on with Leviticus chapter 23. That was verse 1. Go on a little bit more. I need to hear something there. Just keep reading. I'll tell you when to stop. Because in this is instructions of what we should be doing.
Okay. Speak to the children of Israel and say to them.
You know it's Israel.
The appointed times of Yahweh, which are to proclaim as set apart.
We are supposed to proclaim. So, first, what should we be doing? Proclaiming the appointed times of Yahweh. How can you do that if you don't know it?
Right.
Well. So what do you believe? Do you believe in the Messiah? Do you believe him? Coming to him by the name of Jesus. You are supposed to be proclaiming his appointed times.
Hallelujah.
If you believe in Jesus the Messiah, you should be proclaiming his appointed time. Hallelujah. This is what the jailer was told. That's right. What do you believe? The jailer. How can I be saved? We can ask the same question. How can we be saved? Go ahead.
Proclaim as set apart gatherings. My appointed times are these. 6 days work is done, But the seventh day is a Sabbath of rest, a set-apart gathering. You do no work. It is a Sabbath to Yahweh in all.
Belongs to Yahweh. All right, so the first one established is what? The Sabbath. So, I've been taught that we no longer have to do that because Jesus nailed that to the cross.
Not true.
But if we believe in Jesus or Yeshua, then we are to proclaim what? His appointed times, right? This is what we do here. We proclaim His appointed times. But there is something more to just, it's not just for us to do this. Let's continue.
These are the appointed times of Yahweh.
Now let's understand.
The appointed times of Yahweh. Set apart gatherings which ye are to proclaim at their appointed time.
That's right.
In the first new moon of the 14th day of the new moon, between the evening is the pizza to Yahweh. And
Passover, Pesach.
And
Go ahead, that's one.
15th
Two,
day,
rather.
And on the 15th day of this new moon is the festival of Messiah. To Yahweh, 7 days you eat unleavened bread.
Which is unleavened bread, the feast of unleavened bread. We're still eating. Passover we eat. Sabbath we come in with and eat. Go ahead. So we have 3.
On the first day you have a set-apart gathering. You do no servile work. And you shall bring an offering made by fire to Yahweh for 7 days. On the 7th day is a set-apart gathering. You do no servile work.
So that sounds like a Sabbath.
Right, it is.
And that Sabbath falls anywhere because there's 7 days. The first day is a Sabbath, the second day is a Sabbath, but you had already mentioned the annual or the weekly Sabbath, but these are annual Sabbaths. Go ahead, continue.
And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, and you shall say to them, When you come into the land which I give you, and shall reap its harvest, then you shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest to the priest. And ye shall weigh the sheaf before Yahweh for your acceptance. On the morrow after the Sabbath, the priest weighs it. And on that day, when you weigh the sheaf, you shall prepare a male lamb a year old, a perfect one, as an offering, ascending offering to Yahweh, and its grain offering 2/10 of an ephah.
What verse are you at?
13.
Can you go to verse, I think it's verse 40. Let's 40 and 41. Try those and let's kind of conclude that.
Okay. And ye shall take for yourselves on the first day the fruit of good trees, branches of palm trees, twigs of leafy trees, and willows of the streams, and shall rejoice before Yahweh your Elohim for 7 days. And ye shall celebrate it as a festival to Yahweh for 7 days in the year, a law forever in your generation. Celebrate it in the 7th new moon. Dwell in booths for 7 days. All who are native born in Israel dwell in booths, so that your generation knows that I made the children of Israel dwell in the booths when I brought them out of the land of Israel. I am Yahweh your Elohim. Thus did Moses speak to the appointed times of Yahweh to the children of Israel.
So, let's understand what we just heard, and we did skip through. As it was spoke, that we must believe in the Messiah, Yeshua. And then believing in the Messiah, Yeshua, they spoke the word of Yahweh, right? And what was the word that Yahweh gave Israel coming out of Mizraim, Egypt? When you get to the land, do this. Keep the holy days. And what I did was really kind of just put everything together. But to go to Exodus chapter 12, you'll see where they kind of started, and it breaks down from there, and just keep reading. But I just put them all together. So you got 7 holy days, with the last one being Sukkot. Basically what he said, it is what? A law forever. So that your generation, are we a generation of people? Yeah. My parents, your parents, you're their second generation. Your children are their next generation. So he said it's a law throughout your generation. So we're a generation. So that means it's a law forever, even now. Because we haven't gotten to forever yet. Hallelujah. When does forever come? It never comes. That's right. It's always extending. When you get to the time of end, because it continues to move, it's gone again. It never stops. Time just continues to expand. So as the time expands, the law that was given for you to keep, we must keep. So what do you believe? Do you believe in Yahweh? Do you believe in God? Do you believe in Elohim, the creator of all things? This is why he identified himself with the Hebrews, because he gave them something to be a light to the nations. But we know they failed at that. The proof is the land spewed them out, correct? Right. Because the Song of Moses, you must do this, children of Israel. Yahweh said, when you get into the land, these are the things you're to do. On the 7th day is a Sabbath unto Yahweh. The appointed times of Yahweh are these. You must do what? Gather. Well, I can do that at home. What do you believe? Do you believe Yahweh or your own mind? Yahweh. So these are the little things that we have to start figuring out why certain things are not happening for us. When we start praying, we're not getting the answer. It's because he's trying to prick your mind to something. Go back to the measuring stick.
Yeah, that's right. Amen.
It's not because you don't have enough faith. You believe in him.
That's right.
You believe in him with your whole heart and soul. But just like Job, it has to be something that we need to check. And what we need to do, because we get into self, is we need to go to the measuring stick. And the measuring stick, he tells us you have no other God. And let's go to the 4th one, which is the Sabbath. I'm going to skip through because, like I said, I need to start winding this in. The Sabbath. While traditionally we argue about what day is the Sabbath, Saturday or Sunday, the Sabbath has so much more to it than just one day a week. It brings in annual Sabbaths, which are to be kept. So if the Sabbath of unleavened bread comes in on a Tuesday, what must we do? Gather on a Tuesday.
That's right.
Because, you know what, let me not get excited again.
That's all right.
All right, okay. Brothers, let me go to verse 17. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no change nor shadow of turning, having purposed it. He brought us forth by the word of truth, for us to be the kind of what? First fruit. We heard first fruit in there, right? That was unleavened bread, and then 7 days, and within that 7-day period, right now we are at still James chapter 1 verse 18, and let's go to verse 21. Therefore put away all filthiness and overflow of evil, and receive the meekness, the implanted word.
Hallelujah. Implanted.
The implanted word, which is able to save your life. So it's the word that's going to save us. And what is the word? The word became flesh, right?
That's right.
At least that's what John tells us. In the beginning was the word was God, the word was with God.
Right.
And the word became what? Flesh.
Right.
And dwelt among us, right? Okay, so I'm trying to get you to just kind of plug in some of these things as we're moving through, that you're hearing verse 23. Become doers of the what? Word. So what should we do? Proclaim what? The appointed times.
Yes, sir.
And if you don't know the appointed times, how can you proclaim it?
Right. In the book.
So what do you believe?
Right.
It's not that you don't believe, it's just that you don't have enough information. This is what was hidden from us.
Exactly.
All of the holy days that we are supposed to be proclaiming throughout the nations, there was a time that Israel did not do it. So therefore, the land spewed us out. We went into slavery, we went into everything else, idolatry, and here we are today trying to figure this thing out.
Right. Yeah. Right.
So, the bread was left for us. Here it is. Become doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving who? Yourself. You're only deceiving yourself if you don't think that we're supposed to keep the Sabbath. You're only deceiving yourself if you don't think that the holy days, 7 holy days come through and we're not supposed to keep them because Jesus nailed them to the cross. What do you believe? You've been deceived. Because he said this is throughout your generations. We are a generation of people. We are here now. We are alive. Because if anyone is a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like a man who looks at his natural face in a mirror, for he looks at himself and go away. He went away and immediately forgets what he was like. We forgot who we are. And it's taken us all this time to figure out we are Israel, because they gave us an image that's not us. It didn't look like us. That was a go away and immediately forget what he was like. But he that looked into the perfect Torah or the law, that of freedom. Now what does freedom, I mean just, what does freedom denote?
Come on.
I mean, it is related to an opposite of slavery, bondage.
Hallelujah.
Now the King James does say liberty, but it doesn't give us the clarity that we really need. So we need freedom from bondage, freedom from slavery. And he says, I am the God who take you out of the house of bondage.
Come on now.
What were they in? They were enslaved. And continue in not becoming a hearer that forgets, but a doer of work. This one shall be blessed in the doing of the Torah or the law. Doing. I just said work, another bad word.
Come on.
We are not saved by works.
No.
Well, what does it say? This one shall be blessed in his doing of the Torah or the law. Let's go to chapter 3. Listen, my brothers, my beloved brothers, Has Elohim not chosen the poor of this world, rich in belief, and heirs of the reign which he promised to those who love him? So, verse 5. Verse 5, chapter 2. But you have shown disrespect toward the poor man. Do not the rich oppress you and drag you into their courts? Chapter 5, excuse me, we're in chapter 2, verse 5.
What did you read in chapter verse 1?
Chapter 6 now. Verse 6.
Okay, chapter 6.
But you have shown disrespect toward the poor man. Do not the rich oppress you and drag you into their courts? Come on. Real or not?
Really real.
Do they not blaspheme the good name by which you are called? If you truly accomplish the sovereign law according to the scripture, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. You do well. Okay, so, to love and to do, the fruit of the Spirit and all of those. He says you're doing well. But if you show partiality, you commit sin, being found guilty by the Torah as transgressors. For everyone shall guard all the Torah and yet stumble at one point. He is guilty of them all. So, I just have to love my neighbor and, exhibit the fruit of the Spirit. He said all. If you miss one, you're guilty of all. I know that sounds hard, but it's really not. Because we need to understand what we're supposed to be doing.
That's right.
And to bring this in, what we're supposed to be doing is proclaiming what? The appointed time. But what we've been taught, and I see you coming, what we've been taught is to love your neighbor as yourself and all the commandments, but the Sabbath is sitting pivotal right in the middle, that we're not keeping the holy days. We haven't been taught to keep the holy days. So if we're guilty of one, we're guilty of them all. So we must keep the holy days, the Sabbaths, which the Sabbaths open up another door. That means we have to do Yom Teruah, call of the holy, call of the bride, Day of Trumpets, Day of Atonement, and we don't work, and we go away for Shabbat. So when we miss these things, we're missing something of which the instruction said to do. Let me just read a couple more things, and I'm going to stop, and I'm going to come to your questions. Go to verse 17. Yes. Matter of fact, let's go to verse 14, because I need for you to see something. My brothers, what use is it for anyone to say he has belief, but does not have works? So what are the works it keeps telling us? I mean, I have belief, I have my faith, I love, my neighbor as myself, and I'm doing all these things. This belief is unable to save him. And if a brother or sister is naked and in need of daily food, but one of you say to him, go in peace, be warm, and be filled, but you do not give them the bodily needs, what use is it? So, also belief, and we're looking at belief, if it does not have works. So now you tell me I have to have belief and works. Yes.
Well, that's right. That's right.
Feast Day Committee. Is it work when you put forth planning for the holy days that we do and keep? Would you say that's classified as work to plan these things? To get on the phone as a committee and spend sometimes an hour or two on the phone planning these things out? 7 months, a year, and you get to rest from doing that for almost 5 months out of the year, but you really start all over again? So would you classify that as work?
Yes, sir. Yes.
I would. Now, I know that this is a bit cloudy, but I promise as I continue with this later, it will help to unfold what we are supposed to be doing. Okay, to clean this up and finish up. So we settled that we must do works and we must believe. Now let's see what it says. So also belief, if it does not have works in itself, dead.
That's right.
But some might say, you have belief and I have works. Show me your belief without your works, and I'll show you my belief by my works. You believe that Elohim is one, you do well. Okay, you believe. That's fine. We're not going to dispute that. But the demons believe and they shudder. But you do not wish to know, O foolish man, that the belief without the works is dead. So who is he talking to now? The foolish. Now we're dividing what Yeshua talking about. The kingdom of heaven is as 10 versions. That's right. 5 are foolish and 5 are wise. So let's look at and see what's wrong with the foolish. But do you wish to know, O foolish man, that belief without the works is dead? That's foolish to believe that you don't have to have any works with your belief. I'm not disturbing your belief, but there must be some work. Are you proclaiming the holy days of Yahweh? Was not Abraham our father declared right by works when he offered Yitzchak his son on the slaughter place? Do you see the belief was working with his works? Well, nobody's saved until Jesus was nailed to the cross. Wait a minute. That's not what this says. Do you see that the belief was working with his work? And by the work, the belief was perfected. So how can you be made perfect? And I haven't forgot your questions. I'm coming to you. I'm just going to wrap this up and then we'll go into our questions. So in other words, we need to be made perfect, right? So without doing these works, you cannot be made perfect. As the scripture was filled with, which says, Abraham believed Elohim, and it was reckoned to him for righteousness. And he called him who he loves Elohim. You see then that a man is declared right by works and not by belief alone. In the same way, was not Rahab the harlot also declared right by works when she received the message and sent them out another way? For as the body without the spirit is dead, so also the belief is dead without the works. Come on and give Yahweh a praise in the house.